So I'm going to try to give you the perspective of a practicing clinician. And I am not an expert on privacy rules. And I think it'd be worthwhile for those more expert than me to my left and right to just sort of describe the high points from their perspective of what HIPAA means in terms of what it limits us from doing. But I'm going to give you, let me start with an analogy with space. So if you go back 30 years and you walk into any emergency department or any intensive care unit in this country, what was it configured like? It was a big open room with curtains. No privacy, no oral privacy, no olfactory privacy, no visual privacy, no contagion protection. Awful place, presumably. And so what have we done now? We put all these rooms with doors, and people are now isolated, so we're not spreading infection. But in fact, it's probably a less safe environment because there's a lot of medicine that's done by walking around. And there's a whole concept of ambient information that you're getting as you're walking around, even though you're tending to this patient over here, out of the corner of your eye, you're seeing that person over there who's vomiting, and you go over there. And I'm talking from the perspective of in a hospital environment where you as a clinician have responsibility for many patients. You're focusing on one patient at a time, but you have a global responsibility for many. And there is and in fact, there's a story which sort of illustrates this point. The VA even went one better back 30 years ago. The VA had like an open barracks room with beds where the veterans were, and I remember doing rounds one morning, and I was an intern, and the guy in this bed said, "Hey doc, the guy in that bed had a bad night last night." I mean, because he was able to see what was going on. So the most important thing a clinician needs in order to take care of patients is information. And I think, quite frankly, the pendulum, and I'll try to take an extreme position for the purposes of stimulating some discussion, the pendulum has swung much too far. It almost seems these days like we're here in a hospital, and the mission of the hospital is to keep information private and not to take care of patients. And often they are absolutely opposed to each other in terms of the impact. And we've got to keep our eye on the ball. And you say, well, we can have both, and maybe we can, and look at all these terrible things that have resulted from privacy breaches, which I'm not aware of them, but it'd be interesting from the experts that let us know what kind of serious things occur. I will tell you what serious things occur when you don't have information. In fact, I would say to you that probably when I review cases in the emergency department, 30 or 40% of the bad outcomes, the bad cases we have, is because a key piece of information about the patient was not seen. It was not seen because it was buried in lots of noise. It was a signal and noise. Maybe it wasn't seen because the clinician was busy and couldn't tend to it, because he or she forgot to pull the information, because you have to, in general, pull it. It's not being visible ambiently or being pushed to you. And so you can not look, you can look but not see, but it's all, so much of bad outcomes occur because of a deficit of the information stream. And anything we do to interrupt that stream will hurt patient care. You make it hard for a clinician to go access the terminal by putting passwords on or by timing out every 2 minutes. There'll be the moments where it's not worth it to go up there and to look. And that moment may have a key piece of information. I can give you a number of other illustrations of ways in which having the information public helps the clinician. And quite frankly, the patients don't mind. The patients want to be taken care of, and they want the best care they can possibly get. And in some sense, there's an analogy with violence in emergency departments, which I know best, which is that you think of emergency departments as a scary place. They're really not. If you think about the kind of people who get treated, everybody comes to the emergency department to get treated. In fact, I bet you if we did a survey of people coming to the GW Emergency Department, the Washington Hospital Center Emergency Department, some significant percentage would have criminal records, might have had records of violent crime. But there's is a tiny, tiny amount proportionally of violence that occurs. Why? It's a sanctuary. People sort of check their violence at the door. And the same way, I think patients are somewhat willing to check their privacy at the door if it is helpful for them to receive better care.